What's up, everybody? Ron Placone here. You can pre-order Left at Wall now on Apple TV. The link is in the show notes, or you can just go to Apple TV, search Left at Wall. It should come right up. You can pre-order the movie now. Left at Wall will be officially released on January 24th. If you are an Apple TV subscriber, please do pre-order it if you are able. The more pre-orders we get, the better placement we'll have when we're a new release. So it'd be really awesome to make the front page. So please, if you're an Apple TV user, please pre-order Left at Wall. Link is in the show notes, and or you could just search it, Apple TV Left at Wall. If you're not an Apple TV user, don't worry. Once Left at Wall is released on January 24th, it's going to be in a bunch of different places. So there'll be plenty of platforms which you can see it on. And I'll, of course, be giving all that information as the release date gets closer. But now you can pre-order it right now. Apple TV, Left at Wall. The wait is finally over. Peace. Episode 71. Havilah Malone. Havilah Malone is an author, actress, producer, and speaker. She's written some best-selling books, and you'd probably recognize her from a national commercial or two. Havilah was helping out with a game show pilot Graham Elwood and I produced called Anything Can Happen. Her productive and positive energy was infectious. It was awesome to have her be part of it. She's the type of person you like being on set with, which goes a long way in this business. Please welcome to the show, Havilah Malone. Havilah Malone, good to see you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I've been wanting to have you, like you were on my list, and then I felt like with everything that's going on in the city we both call home, now was a good time. You have a very uplifting presence and a good attitude, and I thought I could use some of that on the show right now.
Yay.
Yeah, just in general. Also in general. But I don't want to start there. But that's just pin holder for now.
That's where we'll get to at some point.
We will get there. But I want to start with a little bit about your origin story. Where are you from?
I am originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. More specifically, for people who are familiar with Louisiana, I am from Kenner. So when you fly into New Orleans, you are actually flying into Kenner, and then you're like a 15-minute ride to the city.
So you grew up in New Orleans. Did you go to college there? Did you stay there a while? So where'd you go?
Yeah, so I went to the University of New Orleans. Interestingly enough, I wanted to go to UCLA, but I started college when I was 16. And so my parents were like, your young, naive self is not about to go across the country by yourself. So find something local. And so I ended up going to UNO, and then I graduated with 2 degrees, one by the time I was 19. So I got a degree in dramatic arts and communication and a degree in psychology.
So how did that happen? Why were you in college so young?
Yeah. When I was in high school, I was always in like advanced classes, honors, things of that nature. And so that gives you like extra credits as you're going along through your school tenure. And then I found out that I was only like short by just like a few credits, and I can actually skip a whole grade. I can skip a year. And so I ended up going to summer school and took like 2 gyms. And then I also went and took, because like I was never interested in driving. I rarely even drive now. But
that's quite a feat living in Los Angeles.
For real. Well, yeah, but you have like, Uber and Lyft and like drivers and stuff like that you could get around with. But I took my driver's ed class, but it was only to get the credit so that I could help like graduate earlier. So I ended up skipping a year. So I was only a senior for like 2 weeks, and then I graduated with a different class and got out when I was 16.
Did you still get to go to your prom, or?
Did I even go to prom?
Must not have been that memorable.
I think I only went to one school dance. I grew up Jehovah's Witness. So I grew
Okay.
up in a very like highly religious household where, a lot of things like we didn't participate in. And so school dances was not high on the list either. And I think I went to like one school dance in middle school maybe, but I don't really remember any other dance. So probably not.
Okay. All right. Yeah, fair enough. Are you a Jehovah's Witness currently?
No, I'm no
Okay.
longer a Jehovah's Witness,
Okay.
no. I consider myself more of just a spiritual seeker and just like a spiritual person. I find, I've studied many different religions and belief systems and find so many commonalities amongst so many of them when you really chunk up and look at the bigger picture. And so at the end of the day, it's really, everybody has to, find the path that's right for them. And so I went seeking for the one that was for me.
Right on. You're jumping ahead, though. No, I'm just kidding.
Get back to the origin story.
No, that is on my list actually. Like I wanted to talk about just the concepts of spirituality and stuff. But I want to, yeah. So you got to college early, and you grew up a Jehovah's Witness. So what was that like? Just being younger than most of the people, and also having an upbringing like that, and now all of a sudden you're at the University of New Orleans.
What was that like? I don't know. Like I was so focused on, because I always felt like my real life was beyond school. Like I needed to, like, this was a thing that you were supposed to do, and that was like important for some reason. So I was like, let me do this and like get past this, because then my real life can start. And so I was always so focused in like, doing well in school and performing and getting good grades and things of that nature. So I didn't really take part in a lot of like extracurricular activities and like, spending time with people. Like, and most of my friends, interestingly enough, like I definitely have like an old soul, because like all of my friends, if not most of them, were always older than me. Like my best friend when I was in high school, college, was like 40 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
So me and her daughter were around the same age, and I used to go over there to hang out with her daughter, but then I'd end up hanging out with her mom and like having conversations and like asking about, the universe, and asking about like all like, and having like deep spiritual conversations. And so it was just like the things that I was interested in and wanted to get more information and know about weren't the things that people my age were talking about anyways. So going to college, it was funny because everybody kept saying that UNO was like such a hard school, and you were gonna like, oh my goodness, like, so many people fail out and blah, blah, blah. And so I was scared at first, being like, okay, I'm gonna have to really like buckle down, and I'm gonna have to like work hard, blah, blah, blah. And then after my first semester, I was like, this is easy. I was like, what are you talking about? And so my next semester, I ended up going to the UC and like goofing around and like and like playing pool, and I learned how to play pool very well till I was like making a little bit of money.
Oh wow, okay.
Okay, a pool shark. But then my next semester, my grades dropped. So like they went from like A's to C's, and I was like, oh no, I can't mess with y'all no more. I was like, let me get back to class and get back to like doing my work. So it felt like it went like so quickly, and yeah, it went really quickly. But again, because I'm trying to like test out because I did that in college too. Like I went to the guidance counselors, I found out every class that I could test out of. And so I went and did that, which that shortened my college career as well. So that's why I got out when I was 19. So like I was very much about like, let me figure out what the roadmap is, what the requirements are, and how I can work within this system to get what it is that I want. And I think that's how life really is, or can be for people. Understand the rules of the game and then learn how to win.
So why were you in such a rush though? Like what was it?
Because I really felt like my real life would start on the other side of school. Like this was just like a thing that you were required to do, that you needed to do. And so just like, okay, like if this is a thing you got to do, like I'll do it and I'll do it well. But like my real life is over there. So let me just get through this as quickly as possible.
So what did that real life look like to you?
I felt like it was like actually getting into the television arena. Like, so one of my degrees was in dramatic arts and communication. So even though my initial desire or drive was to be on camera, and initially in news, like that was my, like goal to be in news. And matter of fact, I went into news like in my last semester of college. I interned at a Fox station there in New Orleans at Fox 8. And then once I graduated, I was hired on there, started off as a production assistant and then went on to like field producing, but I wasn't putting myself out there. And then we'll get to this in the story, but I wasn't putting myself out there to be the face or be, on camera because of my own like insecurities and things, that traumas and that I had not dealt with internally, which then had me playing out the story of not being good enough and not being, smart enough and pretty enough, even though like all those things weren't true, I believed them about myself. And so I held back. But like being out there actually like in the workforce, like contributing, like doing the thing that I really felt called to do in the real world, was like, that's what I want to get to. Like all of this. And I love learning. Like I love education. Like I'm a part of book clubs now. Like, and I do a lot of like self-education still, because quite frankly, the stuff that you do learn in school is not necessarily applicable to real life.
Yeah, a lot of it. Some of it is.
Some of it you need.
Yeah.
Like you need math skills. Like you need like to understand basic science and biology. Like you need, I don't even think they teach home ec anymore. Like I don't even think like those life skills are even taught in schools anymore. So, but there are things that you do need to understand, and specialized skills based on what you want to do in life that you can get within the schooling system. But for the most part, the things that we really need to be able to thrive as individuals, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and like career wise, are not necessarily the skills that are taught there. So I'm just like, let me get through this and then I can get over there and start doing the things and getting what I need. So
and so that gig at the news station, was that kind of your first thing out of college?
Yeah, because I started it I interned when I was in college, my last semester, and then got hired right out of college. So like I went directly into news. And then it was interesting because the way that the station was set up, on the bottom floor was Fox 8. And then on the top floor was NOA TV, which is New Orleans Access Television Station. So I ended up getting hired on at both. And so in Fox, started off production assistant, then went into field producing. Up at NOA TV, I was learning camera. I became a certified avid editor. I learned directing. Like I learned all of the other parts of production up at the other station. And so it allowed me this view of this world and skill sets that I'm able to utilize, in different arenas. So I was like super grateful for that opportunity to be able to like dive in both of these like stations and worlds at the same time.
So, you mentioned there was something holding you back from wanting to be on camera. What was going on there?
Yeah. So when I was younger, I was a victim of child sexual abuse when I was a kid. And so that creates a narrative in your mind of just like shame and guilt and worthlessness for me. And so it was like, if I'm on camera, if I'm out there in the world and people see me, then they'll know this like shameful secret that I have. And and then they'll judge me, and then they'll know that I'm not good enough, and they'll know that I'm unworthy, and like all of those things. And so it created this belief system about myself. And so I would like hold my own self back. There were opportunities that would present themselves that I would like sabotage myself almost, or just like not put myself out there, because I'm just like, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not, thin enough, I'm not, like all the enoughness that we can, that we fight with sometimes. And I was working with, so I only stayed with the news station for like 2 years, because every day a rape or murder or fire, it got to the point where it was like I was becoming numb to those topics. And I was like, this is not how I want to feel about this type of thing. And so this is probably not the right arena for me, even though like this environment of like production and creation and storytelling but this may not be the right, path. And so I started working with a lot of different independent production companies and getting a lot of experience in different avenues. And one of the things that I got the opportunity to do was to be a casting assistant. And we were casting for this AMC project. It was for an airing of The Long Hot Summer with Joanne Woodward and Paul Newman, and we were looking for commentators to talk about the scenes in the film that would air throughout on AMC. And as we are having all of these like actors come in and audition for this, they're like coming in, hitting their mark, delivering, and there's something that lit me up about that experience. And I'm like, I should be doing this. Like, I should be like on the other side of this, like on the other side of this table behind that camera and or in front of that camera. But I'm just like, whatever. And we took a lunch break, and the main casting director, she comes to me and she was like, Havilah, I really feel like you should audition for this. And I'm like, when opportunity presents itself, and we get so excited about it, but then like you start to have that internal battle. So like all of those stories started coming back up in my head about the not enoughness. And so I kept like being like, no, like we're going to find who we need, through all of this talent that's coming in the door. It's here. It's not me. And so like I put myself down and like almost like rejected myself before somebody else could reject me. And I feel like a lot of us do that often, where we just won't even go after a thing because we don't want to face the rejection. So we'll reject ourselves first. And so we go back, we're going through the audition process with all the talent coming in. We get to the end of the day, and the casting director came up to me again, and she was like, Havilah, I really feel like you should audition for this, because she's observing me throughout the day and seeing things within me that are there that I'm not even acknowledging within myself. And so after like literally having another one of like good wolf, bad wolf, like battles going on in my head, I was finally like, you know what? Okay, like I'll do it. And so I go get on that X like everybody else, deliver, do the audition process. And then so we leave, like 2 weeks pass, and I hear like crickets. And then of course those seeds of doubt come up, and it's like, why did you even like try? Like, why did you even like do this? Because you knew you weren't going to get it. And I ended up getting a call from that casting director, and I was like, sure, okay, we're going to go into another round of auditions because we didn't find what we were looking for. And the call was, not only did I get it, but I became the lead commentator for that project.
Nice.
And so that was like sometimes we need other people who believe in us more than we even believe in ourselves to like push us, towards the thing that we are here to do in life, while we are doing our own self-work to heal and get ourselves right so that we can stand in our own power and do it for ourselves. But sometimes you need that support system. And it was also like, all these BS stories that you were telling yourself about not being good enough, look at this. Like, look at what the universe is like laying out before you in this amazing opportunity. So stop stopping yourself and let's do this. Like you always knew what you wanted to do. Like it was always in you. So let's go for it. And so I had to go, and it wasn't like immediately then at that time, but I had to go on my own healing journey to like reprogram a lot of the negative self-talk and limiting beliefs and things that were going on that were like rooted in my unconscious, mind and in my belief about myself, because it was all BS. Like just because something happens to you doesn't define who you are. Like we're more than any of these things that we go through in life. And I had to learn that.
So, first of all, thank you for sharing, and sorry you had to go through that. And you talk a lot about just opportunity and how they're everywhere. So how would you define what it means to have an opportunity? Like what exactly does that mean if you had to really just dissect it?
That's a good question. Here's the thing. We are creators. And I don't just mean from we're artists in this industry, like as entertainers or, storytellers, but as spiritual beings having a human experience. We are creators. And so it is our ability and our job to create opportunities, to create new avenues and venues, not just to wait for someone else to give you permission or open a door or do something that says, oh, now you're granted access. We are creators. And so knowing and having that, first of all, that knowledge, but not just the knowledge, but the belief in that and owning that allows you, your energy, because like there's something that you want. So there's a desire that you've put out there. So maybe you're like, hey, I want to act. I want to be on I want to do a national commercial. Cool. Are national commercials being shot currently? Yes, absolutely. So that means you've got a desire, and then there is opportunity that is out there. So now it's about aligning those energies so that opportunity and talent meet each other and come together. So often we say, okay, I have this desire to do this thing. It's out there, but I could never have it. I'm not good enough. Oh, there's so many other people. And so we're moving away from the thing that we want as opposed to saying, no, like it's out there, it's available, and it's for me. And what's for me cannot be denied me. It will always come to me. So you're constantly, everything is frequency. Everything is energy. Ralph Waldo Emerson talks about this all the time. And so it's about aligning energy and aligning frequency so that opportunity and time and talent meets each other. And even when you're like, hey, in the meantime, that commercial that I want to do, that national commercial, that hasn't come yet. Like it's on its way. It's going to happen. It hasn't come yet. What can I do right now to be the creator that I am and put myself out there into the world? Maybe I can film something and put it out on social media or put it out on YouTube. I can start networking with people, who are in that space and being of value and receiving value, from others. So there's always opportunity is everywhere, literally, just like money. It's everywhere. But are we in alignment with being able to come into harmony with it so that it comes into our experience of reality? That's the key.
Mm-hmm. So was it kind of that mindset that brought you out to Los Angeles in the first place? Or was that something you kind of got once you got there or kind of give me that timeline?
Oh my God. Okay. So the LA story is really cool. It was it May? I can give you the exact date. Where's the note? You know what? Nah, it's not the notebook. I have a notebook that I documented everything that happened as it unfolded, because I had just had a big win. Like, cause I was like, I'm a 3-time best-selling author. Like, I speak on stages, I act. So there's like quite a few skill sets that I'm very blessed to be able to utilize, to their fullest in using my gifts in the world. And I had just come off of, so there's a platform called Goalcast, and they do motivational videos where like Oprah or Tony Robbins, and then they like edit together like things that they've said from speeches and with like visuals, and like do these viral motivational videos. So they had reached out and utilized one of my speeches and did one of those viral videos, or one of those videos, and it went viral. And so like over 1 million views, like all these comments, and it was about following your childhood dreams. And we had so many comments and so many people who were reaching out about like how it motivated them to go after some of the hidden dreams that they had. And so it was just like, wow, it was so moving for me. Well, not only to be featured, on this really amazing platform, but also the impact that the message was having on people. And I'm like, that's what I'm here for. And I remember waking up one day and I was just like, it wasn't depressed, but it was just like, there was this heaviness, this gloom over me, and I couldn't understand why. And I'm just like, there's like, everything is going well in my life right now. Like, if you on paper, like everything is going good. So, and I just came off of this huge win, and, but I don't understand what's going on. And so I started doing using my tools. So first I journaled. I was like, okay, maybe I just have some gunk inside of me that needs to like come out, or like something that needs to be expressed and I need to get it out of me. So let me put it on paper. So I journal, I do my morning pages, like I do 3 pages or whatever. And I felt a little bit better, but there was still something on me, like something weighing on me. So I was like, okay. I was like, let me go for a walk. I was like, maybe I need some movement. Like I'm gonna move my body. And so I go for a walk, and it was beautiful, like being outside in the fresh air and just in nature, because that's a really calming source for me. But still, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? And then I was like, okay, phone a friend. So I ended up calling a friend of mine who was of the same like-minded, high vibrational, and will, if my thinking is off, will like help me to redirect and like look at a situation, reframe a situation in a much more helpful and empowering way, even when I need to take responsibility for things. And we ended up talking for 5 hours.
Wow. Okay. That's a good friend. They had 5 hours to spare for you. That's
5 hours. And in this time, what came to the surface, what came into my awareness was that you're out here motivating all of these people, doing all of these things, like helping people and telling them to go after their childhood dreams. And you still have a childhood dream that you haven't fulfilled yet. So it's time for you to practice what you're preaching and actually do this yourself. And I was like, ooh, okay, got you. Because when I was in high school, my first career path that I was going to do, I was going to become a lawyer. So we were part of a junior league program where we actually got to try real cases, and all of the defendants were already found guilty of their crimes, but we got to argue sentencing before the judge. And I loved it. And I was just like, to be able to present an argument and unveil this information that helps to sway someone, one way or another, in relationship to this case. So I was like, I'm going to become a lawyer. And so I remember I skipped the year. I'm off to going off to college. And then I had to make a decision. I'm like, are you going to go to law school, or you could just play a lawyer on TV? I was like, that would probably be like way more fun. So I chose playing a lawyer on TV.
Brilliant.
And so in all that time, and I had played police officers, like I was on NCIS New Orleans. I had done like all kind of stuff. And I had my reality show. Like I had done so much stuff in the television world, but I had not played that lawyer yet. And it was like, you literally shifted the trajectory of your life to go down another path that you have not yet fulfilled that thing. And so I literally made a decision that day after like finishing this phone call with my friend. I made a decision that day and I was like, I'm moving to Los Angeles to more fully pursue my television career so that I can play that lawyer on television. And so it was May. I have to look at the notebook to see the exact date, but it was, I contacted my old acting coach out here in LA, and I asked her, I said, when is your next intensive, or when is your next like course, curriculum starting back up? And she told me it was going to be on June 26th. And that was June 26th of 2019. So I said, great. It was June 28th. So June 28th, 2019, I said, great, I'll be out there by June 26th. And I was 61 days. So it was like May something. I was 61 days away from that June 28th date. And so I created this notebook and I wrote down like the date. I wrote down what my desire was. I used Napoleon Hill's 6 Steps to Riches that's in Thinking Grow Rich to be able to outline my goal and my plan to be able to come out to LA. And I was out here those 61 days later on June 26th and had moved to LA to more fully pursue my my acting career. And it was 2 years into me being here that I landed the role on HBO's Insecure as a lawyer.
That's
so I was
cool. That is so, so cool. Well, congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That is, wow. So you talk a lot about, and you mentioned this in your story, you talk a lot about time and, the finite amount of time that we all have. I know in one of your videos, you broke it down to the days. Do you think about mortality a lot?
Oh my God. Oh, that's such a great question. Okay, so at this point in my life, and because of experiences that I've had, I have a very different relationship to mortality and the finiteness of life. And I'll break down why. But my belief is that death is a gift, because it allows for the refreshing of life. It allows for the cycle of life to continue on. And I believe, again, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So even the end of this mortal coil, this form, is not the end of me. It's the end of this version of me that gets to come in and have this experience in life. And so that which really is me, that soul or spirit that inhabits this body, is eternal. So that will go on to another experience or come back into another, agreement to come into life, into this experience for whatever lessons or things that I want to experience through that form. So, and this became very clear to me through ayahuasca experiences. So ayahuasca being the sacred plant medicine of the Amazon rainforest, which allows you to go into an altered consciousness state to like shed all of the critical thinker, the mortal mind, and go into almost like an infinite mind and gain access to information that allows you to see life and the world in a very different way. And so since having experiences like that, it has just changed my relationship to like life and death. Like I had a really serious health scare that happened probably within the last year. And because I have my blood levels were found out like they got like super low, like so much so that like not conducive to life, period. And so I had passed out and did not. And then when I woke up, from being passed out, I remember like the one thing I wanted to do was just to call my mom and just tell her like how much I loved her and appreciated her. But I was very much okay with if this is my end, or if this is, as far as I go in this, existence in this life, I'm okay with that, because I know that this end is not the end.
Mm-hmm. So, I like that. Yeah, I like that, and I sincerely hope you're right. I really do. I think, are you a theist? Like where are you at there? Like,
it's interesting. Like,
or does it? Or actually, let me do a precursor question to that. Does it matter?
No.
Okay. All right. Cool. I like that too. Yeah. Because
like there's philosophies within Buddhism that I appreciate and wholeheartedly agree with. There's philosophies within Christianity that I believe in and wholeheartedly agree with. There's philosophy within Theosophy and Kabbalah, and a lot of different systems that I've had the privilege of being able to study, that I feel like, yes, like the parts and pieces of this, and ultimately, even though it's being said in different, I call it different languages. I'm like, we speak in scientific terms, we speak in religious terms, we speak in energetic terms, but we're all saying the same thing in just different languages. Like, it's ultimately all saying the same thing, but we get so caught into our label, and our label being the right label. And it's like, if you really chunk up and come outside of this conditioning of language, we're saying the same stuff.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'm kind of with it. Like I don't fear death. Like it's nothing. And honestly, some of the stuff you're saying, to be kind of like, that's sort of why I started this podcast, because this is, I'm gonna have a conversation with 1,000 different people who have piqued my interest in some way. And it ranges from all kinds of stuff: authors, actors, some people that do a little bit of everything, musicians, some we've had porn stars. It's just academics, politicians. It's activists. It's, it's a broad concept, and I like to just learn from lots of different people. And I really want to make it count, because they're one and done. So yeah, I kind of, and I feel like when you put it into math, you are naturally going to think about it, like when I heard you say 28,000 days, how do you not? I actually thought about that, because I watched that before doing this with you, and kind of thought about, like, wow, so I'm going to talk to 1,000 different people, 28,000 days, so
yeah.
It's
time, it's interesting. So time is relative, and then,
sure.
And then time is a construct that we've created. It's not necessarily real across all let's say realities. Like it's real for us. Like anything that you believe, it has become real for you. Period. Like it even says that in the Bible, it is done unto you as you have believed. Mm-hmm. So, which also tells you how powerful of creators we are, how powerful we are in the manifestation of our experience of reality, because our belief system makes things so. So even time, that relationship to time, yeah, like, because you could be like, hey, I have 28 days before my vacation starts. So your relationship to time will be very different in your experience of time, because you're excited and you're just like, oh my God, why is this taking for this 28 days is so long, and I can't wait to get there because then I get to go on vacation. Now, if it's 28 days before this bill is due and I don't have the money for that bill, then the relationship to that time feels very different. It's like, oh my God, those days are passing so fast. And like, there's anxiety and worry, leading up to it, like potentially, like depends on where your mind is. So it's like our relationship to time, because I feel like this, I've made so many like drastic changes in my life to align myself to my authentic self, that There's nothing like, yes, I have more goals. I have more things that I want to accomplish within life. But if today was my last day, I'd be okay with it. Like, I would have no regrets and be like, oh, if I only could have just like won that EGOT, or if I could have only just like, done this one more thing, because I have been very focused on, or very I can't think of the word, but very dang, the word is literally escaping me. It's been really important to me to like where spirit is leading or what I'm called to do that thing. And then if I get more time, like if tomorrow is a day that I will wake up and I have more time, then great. Then I can accomplish like the next thing that I'm being led to, or that my dreams or goals are attached to. But if I don't make it to tomorrow, then what I've accomplished now and the life that I've lived and who I've become, not even so much the accomplishments, but who I've become at this point, I'm at peace with that. And can just like, okay, see you on the flip side, or I'll bring it to a whole another deeper level. I really feel like and hope that this is my last iteration coming in to this human experience. Like, I know that I've done this many, many, many times, through different forms, for different lessons, for different reasons. And I feel like I have now come to a place of completion with this human experience. Now, what is beyond that, or what do you just go back to source and then stay in that spirit form, or what that looks like, or there's another, you go to a different planet and have a different experience? I don't know. But I feel like I am complete with this. And so once I close my eyes in this experience, like, I want to be done.
Wow. Okay. That's, yeah, right on. I mean, I wonder about stuff like that sometimes too. So when I was in college, and by the way, I have a few more heavy questions for you. So buckle in. But when I was in college, my summer job, I worked at this warehouse. And there's this guy who worked there. His name's Francis. And I loved him. And I'd like to think it was mutual. He was just the coolest guy. And I was like this 19-year-old kid, shoulder length hair, a bunch of piercings. And Francis was this older black jazz musician in Pittsburgh, and he hung out at like all the spots that I would like read about from like the 60s and stuff. And he was friends with August Wilson, I don't think he was friends with it, but he went to a bunch of his openings, and he'd like see him around and stuff. And I was a big August Wilson fan, so I would always like, he would like tell me stories, and I was just so into it. And he was also really interested in all the stuff I was into. Like, he'd be like, oh, tell me about this, indie rock stuff that you like that I wasn't paying attention to. And so it was a fun relationship. And one time he was just talking about stuff, and I'm like, man, I wish I would have been around for the 60s. And he just goes, matter of factly, he goes, nah, you wouldn't have made it. He's like, you're one of those people. You would have done something. You wouldn't have made it. And then that got me wondering. I'm like, maybe I was around and I didn't freaking make it. Like maybe I didn't make it out of like a war protest or something. I don't know. Or I don't know.
You can always try like a past life regression and see.
But so how do you overcome pain?
Well, that's such a good question. Physical pain, and I'll tell you both. So physical pain, one, like if I cut my arm, like go to a doctor, like go seek medical attention. But sometimes like I like say I was getting sick, and I knew I had things that were coming up, and I'm just like, this isn't the time that I can really spare this time for sickness. Now, yes, sickness is always trying to tell you something. There's a lesson, there's a message in that. And more than likely that message is to slow down, like you need more self-care, time. And I was like, and I appreciate that. I'm going to take that. I'm not even under advisement. Like, I'm going to do that. But right now, so I use So there was a French doctor, basically. His name was Emile Coulier. And he would give his patients this prescription to say to themselves, and it was day by day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Day by day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. And I have morphed it like to fit my own like needs at times. But again, we are more powerful than we are taught. We have the ability to have influence over our bodies. We have the ability to have influence over our minds. So when I felt that sickness coming on, I'll use a religious term, I would rebuke that sickness, but I would utilize that phrase, but I would shift it to minute by minute of every day and every way I'm getting better and better, minute by minute of every day and every way I'm getting healthier and healthier, minute by minute of every day and every way I'm getting stronger and stronger. So I would continually recite that to myself with a consciousness and a feeling of myself being better and seeing myself as better. And I'm telling you, every single time I've had to like utilize it, it has worked. So one, taking ownership and control over my body to be able to overcome those pains. Like, even if it's like a pain, like I had a pain that showed up in my leg, same formula. I did the same thing and was able to like work through that. Now, again, cut yourself, break a bone, go to the doctor. Like, while also utilizing those things to help your healing process work faster. Now, emotional pain, people getting on my nerves, like situations in life that present themselves. One, I will say this, like the way that I'm able to deal with things, the period of time, like say, even if I am upset about something, matter of fact, there's something that happened recently, in a project that I was working on that, the person started taking my kindness for weakness and started taking, taking all of the leeway that I was giving like for granted, and like I gave you an inch and now you're trying to take a mile. And so when that encroachment started,
real quick, I just want to mention you don't. It's on that person if they make that mistake with you. I mean, I don't know you super, super well, but in what interactions I've had with you, you are a very kind person, but I would never mistake that kindness for weakness.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. And I guess because I allowed too many things to like slip, too many times that you were able to get away with stuff where I just kind of like, allowed it to just like flow off and okay, no problem. Okay, cool. And so you start to form a belief that, oh, I could just do anything. And so it got to the point where it went one step too far. And so that triggered within me that like, okay, now I'm about to go into a whole nother mode. Like you about to see a whole nother version of Havilah. But even that, like getting to that place of like aggravation and like frustration because of being like taken for granted. And it was like in playing the story, and that's what it is. It's the stories that we play in our head about the situation that exacerbates it, that like elongates it out. Mm-hmm. And so when I realized, okay, I am in this cycle because I was supposed to be focused on something else, but now I still have this story playing in my mind. And so my focus is really on this situation as opposed to like this thing I'm supposed to be doing. And so catching myself, like that awareness of that, and one, like stepping away. I'm just like, okay, let me just like step away for a second and focus on something else. Because wherever focus goes, energy flows. So like finding myself, like, even if I have to like go outside and go for a walk, or if I have to go and like pull up like funny cat videos or dog videos, like on Instagram, just to be able to shift the energy and shift my focus to something that is like lighthearted, or that'll bring me joy, or that'll bring me peace in some way. Because again, there's a saying that you can't solve a problem from the same state that created the problem. So me being aggravated trying to address it is only going to make things worse. So I was like, I need to pull myself back, get myself into a stabilized place of a better mindset. And now I can relook at this, because ultimately I have learned in life, and I have fully embraced that everything in life is there to teach me a lesson. It's there for my highest and best good, no matter what it looks like, no matter what it looks like, it's there for my highest and best good. So I'm like, first of all, what is this trying to tell me? And I was like, the lesson for me was, you're not honoring your boundaries. You allowed your boundaries to get pushed and pushed and pushed until it broke. And so I'm like, that's giving me an opportunity that now, first of all, I can correct it in this situation. Like, we're going to set these boundaries back up. But also, this situation is going to appear again. Like, we're going to keep getting tested over and over again to be like, are you for real? Are you really about what you say you about? Are you really going to do that? So I was like, it would come back around again. And so in that new situation, I get to honor my word, honor my boundaries from jump, so that we don't ever even get to this place where now I'm flustered and upset and like running stories in my mind. So that's a lot of times like how I will deal with a painful situation is, one, like my awareness of like me being off, like energetically, or me being off in like the thoughts that are running in my head. Like, I become aware of that a lot faster. Like, I don't go down the tunnel and then I'm not even aware that like every conversation I'm having is about this and I'm talking about this everywhere that I go. Like, that's not the case, but that took time to get to a place where I could get that level of awareness and then start to pull myself out of that situation by redirecting my focus somewhere else, and then coming back to it with like, how is this here to serve me? That's the question. How is this here to serve me? Cool. Now what do I need to do moving forward to like correct this so that I can get like fully back into alignment with myself? Yeah.
So one of the terms that I have heard you use in your videos is alchemist. What exactly does that mean to you? What does that mean in general?
Yes.
I've heard it used in different ways in different contexts. So,
yes. Yeah. And it's always the same thing, but utilized in different ways. And sure. So to be an alchemist is having the ability to transmute. So whether that's transmuting energy, whether that's transmuting matter. So to be able to change things from one form to another is to be an alchemist. So in the ancient usage of alchemy, they always wanted to transmute or change like lead or base metal into gold. For me, it's a transmutation of energy. So being able to come from a lower vibration of energy and to transmute that to a higher vibration of energy, which also puts you in alignment with attracting everything that you want in life.
All right. So last question, this was just a little more kind of topical and a little more just industry specific. Okay. So here in Los Angeles, let's do a quick timeline. 2020, pandemic. 2021, pandemic. 2022, still kind of a pandemic. 2023, multiple strikes. 2024, still feeling the strikes. 2025, well, it's the first month that we got these wildfires freaking going. Where do you think it's all going? What's going to happen? What's going to, in this case, quite literally, and you know, my heart goes out to all the people affected. Quite literally, though, you know, something's going to rise from the ashes in the literal sense here. I mean, so what do you think? Honestly, I'll be fully transparent here. I'm leaning on you for a little bit of optimism.
Yes.
So if you don't have that, damn, because I sure don't.
Oh my! Here's the thing. And I'll tell you, and so one of my coaches, and who I spent a significant amount of time through his Platinum Partnership program, was Tony Robbins. And I mean, it was a life transformative experience because I was able to be around people who thought at a different level than I thought, who operated at a different level than I was operating at the time. And so it gave me a, like if my preview was here, it allowed me to like see the world from a much bigger, preview. And so one thing that he would share with us, he said that in good times, when the market is doing really well, will people make money? Yes. In good times, when the market is doing really well, will people lose money? Yes. In the market or in times that are bad, quote unquote, and the market is doing poorly, will people make money? Yes. When the market is doing bad, in bad times, will people lose money? Yes. So it's not the market. So having that understanding that even in what seems to be the worst of times, there's still opportunity. What seems to be things that are crumbling down, there's still places for us to be able to thrive and grow. What we focus on is what's important. How we show up in that situation, how we're able to be flexible and maneuver, that's what's important. When we are stuck and unchangeable and like it has to be this way and it has to go down the same route that I've always known it to be for it to be successful, that's where we get messed up. So I'll give you an example, because a lot of people are like, oh, you came. And so I came in June of 2019. So it was right before the pandemic hit, in the very next year. And a lot of people, when the pandemic first hit, at first I was like, super grateful because I was just like, not for the pandemic hitting, but just for like the, stay at home order and like being able to like retreat and go in, because I was like, go. And I was like, not taking the rest breaks that I needed. And so it was just like, okay, I literally the universe got put on pause so I could go sleep. I was like, finally, like I'm gonna just sleep in all day. And then after like the first 2 weeks of like sleeping in all day, I was like, okay, like I ain't got enough sleep now. Like, I'm ready. Right. I'm ready to get out in the world and do something. And so it was like, but there's nothing yet to do. So then now what do we do? And so I was like, okay, my mind goes to how can I be of service? Like, what is it that I can do to be of service? And so I was like, well, I have this children's book. And I was like, parents are at home right now having to homeschool their kids. And so I was like, I have, ability to utilize a camera and know how to navigate online. So I was like, I can go online because there's 17 short stories in the children's book that are based off of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. So it's the children's version of Think and Grow Rich. And so I was like, I can utilize those stories and like actually just do a read along and put that out there into the world and like be of service, like to those parents who are looking for content for their kids, because now they're stuck with them for 24/7. And so it was just like that, doing that and being of service allowed my energy and my vibration to stay high. It allowed me to stay open to opportunities. And what started happening was I was getting reached out to, because like I do a lot of like commercial, work. And so, yes, a lot of the television like shows and stuff like that, even though some of them were still like following COVID protocols and still able to like do their shows, but a lot of productions were shut down and weren't able to move forward. But what the shift happened on the commercial side was, in which you saw during that 2020, 2021, a lot of like Zoom type commercials, or like, everybody was like in their own little individual Zoom box. Well, I would have brands and production companies reach out to me and say, hey, if we can send you the breakdown for the shots that we need, if you could shoot this yourself and then send us the material, then we can edit it together and then it can become the commercial. So it was like there was a shift that happened where we're used to like going on set, going through hair and makeup, doing our thing, and then just like showing up, doing our job, and then going home. And now I became the production company, myself, to be able to shoot the content, do my own hair and makeup and all that stuff or whatever. And so it was just like being willing, number one, having the skill set, number two, and the open like mindedness that, hey, things are shifting. I'm keeping myself open to these opportunities, and now they're coming in. So I actually had like a really great year during the pandemic, and also did, because after the first 4 months of being inside, I was like, I don't want to see these four walls no more. Like, I'm so tired of looking at these walls. So I literally took a 3-month cross-country road trip where I went to like natural, like I went to like the Grand Canyon, and I went to Carlsbad Caverns. So I went to like a lot of like outdoor, like natural things, and like traveled across the US, all the way to like, I went to Florida and New Orleans and like a lot of different places, and isolated myself, you know, because I took this trip by myself, but I was still able to shoot because we were doing all of our shoots remotely at that time. So it opened the opportunity for me to do some traveling that I had wanted to do, but didn't have the opportunity to because of having to be on a set, you know, and being here locally in LA. So I still got to work and travel and keep myself like safe and distance. So it actually was a blessing in disguise for me. But I was open to it not looking like what I was used to seeing. So even you take it back to today and us going through pandemic, going through strike, going through now wildfires, there's still opportunities that persist or that are available if we will open ourselves. One, stay in a high vibrational space. Do what is necessary to find those glimmers of joy, find those glimmers of hope. And your skill set can be used outside of just the traditional trajectory you think it can be. And so when you open up to more possibilities, that's when opportunity comes a knocking, or build it yourself.
Where can people go to learn more about you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. I think the tag is right below us, but it's HavilahMalone. So Havilah Malone. You can always reach out to me at ask@havilahmalone.com. And my website is actually under construction right now because somebody hacked it. Shame on y'all. I know, right? I was like, what lesson is there in this for me?
Maybe you need to give your website a facelift. I did that for mine recently. I realized I'm like, I got to update this bio. So maybe that was the universe telling you,
you know what?
Got to update the website.
I received that because I'm having to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so very shortly you'll be able to go to havilahmalone.com and then get more information there. But like, I'm available on all social media platforms, so feel free to follow me and reach out. And too, I have a new spoken word album that's going to be releasing next month, so I'm super excited about that. To be able to, I've worked with a variety of different composers to bring music and healing those vibrational tones to the words that I am here to share through these pieces, and something that you can use for affirmations on a daily basis to stay in that high vibrational state and to understand who and what you truly are and have access to within yourselves, so that we continue to reprogram ourselves and feed that back into ourselves, as opposed to a lot of the things that we are feeding ourselves right now that are not helpful. So,
well, Havilah, thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Like, it was like, it's funny because you were like, "Hey, we're going to talk about you," and I'm like, "What does that really mean?" And then, you know, I love the questions, because like you usually will like get the questions and know exactly what you'll be talking about, and you were all like so secretive, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna see how this gonna unfold, but this is beautiful. So thank you so much. Like, I really enjoyed this conversation.
That was Havilah Malone. Be sure to check out all of our stuff. Music for the 1000 podcast is provided by Andrew Saxonov. Be sure to check out his podcast, the Baywatching Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review, would ya? This is still a new show. Every 5-star review helps. So please leave a 5-star review wherever you are getting this podcast. If you want to support this show on the sustainability end, you can do so over at patreon.com/romplacone. For Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of cool perks. We do Zoom meetups once a month. You get insider info into new productions and films, and I drop full stand-up sets not available anywhere else. So we got a really cool community going on Patreon, and it's all for a Give What You Can level. All right, 71, cracking another decade. 1971, good year for music. It's when the Aqualung album by Jethro Tull came out, along with some other classics. Maybe we'll start doing that. Now that we're into that era, we'll start doing some music trivia or music information, rather, about particulars to the year as we're moving on up in the numbers. Catch you next week. Peace. Hey guys, Ron Placone here. Take your own 1,000 challenge. No, you don't need to interview 1,000 people, although if you want to do that, go for it. Your 1,000 challenge can be whatever you want. Maybe you want to call a friend out of the blue once a week. Maybe you want to read a book every month. Maybe you want to start a different garden every season. I guess that might be dependent on where you live. Look, the point of the challenge is taking on an endeavor that enriches your life in some way, and it can be measured. And then, of course, you do it regularly. That's what 1,000 is doing for me, and hopefully for you too. The main reason for this podcast and every podcast I've ever done is to build community. So take your own challenge. Then join our Facebook group. It's called 1,000 What's Your Challenge? ? That's 1,000 What's Your Challenge ? And post about what your 1,000 challenge is and the progress you're making. All I ask is that people be encouraging of each other's challenges. This is personal and vulnerable, so be cool. There's enough negativity on social media. We don't need to add to it. For those of you who aren't on Facebook, hopefully in the future we'll be expanding to places like Discord, Reddit, but for now, we're starting on Facebook. And again, that Facebook group is called 1,000 What's Your Challenge? See you there.